Yep. It's a Sunday night pain train. I am the odd one. Let's see who shows up first. It'll be interesting. And it's Tiki of Doom. Then it's Resolute Germ. Hello, 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 hello. How are things going? Anything exciting happening out there in the world? Not like we can't tell by watching the news. Curtis, hello. How are you doing tonight? Yeah, slow news day. Yawn. Nothing. No, I don't think Jesse Milestone's rioting. I think Jesse's staying at home. Hello, Teresa. Hello, Mr. Londell. Yes, I'm Sloth from the Goonies. I'm Sloth. I feel like Sloth tonight, so I figured I'd look like Sloth. Hey, you guys! Nope. I couldn't think of anything. I slept for a little while. Woke up. Seen nobody was on. Figured I could jump on for maybe an hour. Say the heck with it. Then maybe go back to sleep. I don't know. Certainly feel like it. Certainly feel like I could just sleep sleeping. But I can't sleep my whole life away. Hey, cool for you, Teresa. You got drunk. Yay. I didn't. I stayed sober. Tiki, you extremist, you. Bad, bad, bad. I'm taking a short little break on the classic Doctor Who's. I might pick that back up tomorrow. Greetings, Mike. Mr. Londell, we're talking about the same Alexander. It's so much fun to have watch him explode. Drinks on Sunday night. There you go. Cool. Curtis is still watching Voyager. Boom, boom, boom. You're only watching it because it's 7 to 9, Curtis. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. I almost put like an old movie up just to play while I was up here and make comments about it. Be funny. I'm just not sure if I could be funny tonight. See that, Mr. Lundell? There are people crazier than Alexander. So, yeah, you got that. Bird's probably glued to the NASA channel watching all the space stuff. Hail, Fluger. Well, I could log off, Fluger. Is that what you want? I could shut the stream down. It'd be okay. I'm sure somebody else will pick it up. Go on. Do something. I don't know. They might. I don't know. There's something scary.
Hey DJ, how you doing?
I'm doing. Uh-oh. Birthday boy's here. Birthday boy. Jeff Franklin.
Happy birthday, Jeff. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Jeff. Happy birthday to you. Said DJ couldn't sing nothing about me.
I didn't do it, Jeff. I already sang to him twice. I wasn't going to do it a third time.
Oh, okay.
Poor Jeff's already got it from me twice. I don't think he wanted it a third time, so I decided I was going to be nice and shut up this time.
Yeah.
Curtis going to get a new game tomorrow. What game, Curtis? Come on, spit it out. Uh-oh, poor Jeff had Bird singing to him earlier, too. All right, which was worse, Jeff? Bird or Nightbreeze singing? Which one? Come on. Putting you on the spot. Oh, he's going to get a new game, but he don't know yet. All right, Curtis. Tease us with something you don't even know yet. Curtis, you just wait till the next time you're up on the stream and I'll sing to you too. That'll destroy you.
Oh, I gotta watch for one come in Walmart. They re-released Saints Row 3 with a remaster.
Okay, Jeff Franklin says, is there any doubt? So, yes, Nightbreeze is the worst singer.
I could have told you that. DJ, you know I have absolutely no illusion about my singing ability.
And there, Curtis is yelling no for my singing. It was bad enough I sang Weird Al over on Rambling's channel last night.
Oh, I missed that one. Damn it.
Yeah, I sang one more minute.
Nice.
Well, I heard that you're leaving. Gonna leave me far behind. 'Cause you found a brand new lover. You decided that I'm not your car. Oh, never mind. I won't continue. Even though I didn't say no singing on this stream. Last night's stream I put no singing, but today I just put Sunday Night Pain Train, which could mean me singing.
Yeah, you don't do a bad singing job.
And then I sang Elvis before that.
Yeah, I caught that one.
I forgot to share the sound on that one. Nobody told me.
We never,
son of a bitch.
We never tell you. That's the thing.
Like, son of a bitch. So half the people thought I was just singing a cappella.
Oh.
I did it my way.
You did a great job on that, too. But no, I hadn't even gotten a notification that you were live yet. I just happened to be setting up for a live stream myself and then saw that you were live.
Yeah, well, I only went live 9 minutes ago.
Yeah, true. It was 20.
What's up, Sith Lord?
Hey, Sith.
Sith's going on air here in about 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That's why I figured I'd just do a short stream. I won't interfere with everybody else, and not everybody wants to put up with me for that long anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't be on here late. I got to work tomorrow, but
I got a radio show to do tomorrow. I don't even feel like it. I might play nothing but depressing songs all day tomorrow.
Oh, is it one of your 12-hour streams?
No, it's only 5, but it's 4.5 hours more than I want. And Curtis is only on game night. But yes, everybody in 14 minutes now. Sith Lord will be doing a live stream. I don't know who all these has over there coming tonight. There'll probably be some people.
Hey, Sith, did Han do a stream tonight?
No, he's working.
Ah, okay.
His hours got changed.
Aha, alrighty.
So I don't know what's going on. I haven't heard anything. I'm out of the loop, so I don't know when there'll be another Name That Tune or what, when, how, why. I could play the blues tomorrow. I used to do a weekly blues show for like 3 years, so I've got plenty of blues songs I could do.
Now, you have plenty of music for any show? Come on. Who would think that?
Yeah, I only got 250,000 songs. Yeah, I think I can cover just about anything.
So you've doubled it since I last looked at your list.
Sith Lord says Name That Tune and Jackbox game nights will most likely be moved to Thursday nights. I know, Resolute. I would even hurt if I had to listen to Everybody Hurts over and over and over. I know, Curtis, I'm not playing any rap. Fuck that. I could play Hurt all day. I hurt myself today. Oh, never mind. Thomas Potts is in the chat finally. He hasn't yelled first yet, though, but I'm waiting for it. It's not definite yet, though. That Jackbox and Name That Tune is not definite yet, but it's kind of given a kind of a. There's Slasher. He is back from last night or early this morning. I can't remember which.
Hi, Slasher.
I kind of lost track of my days and hours and everything. But howdy, Slasher. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, I had Captain Foley on for a little bit last night.
Cool.
That was fun. We were all talking about Anti-Trekker's ship that he's building and how none of us really liked it.
Wow.
That's pretty much how that conversation went.
Now, which one's that? Is that the Wrangler you're talking about, or the other one?
His little gunboat thing that he's building.
The one with all the torpedoes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about that one last night. We got Captain Foley's opinion on it. It was quite funny, too. Cinnabon started that. Oh.
Hey, Cinnabon.
Hello, Mortimus. I figured it was pretty much safe anyway because Anti-Trekker never goes back over any of my shows anyway. So he'll never know that we were talking about it. Unless somebody cuts out audio clips from it and makes something funny out of it. Because I did make the comment. I told Foley, I said, when you're doing the review of Anti-Trekker's ship, you should cut out the clip from Trouble with Tribbles and say, I didn't say it should be hauling garbage. It should be hauled away as garbage. And he laughed about that. Night breeze fell away, I guess.
Sorry, I was sending a message on Facebook to somebody real quick.
Mr. Londell says, what Anti-Trekker needs to understand about ship design is form follows function. And apparently Cinnabon didn't like my horse video on Twitter. Foley actually wasn't drunk.
I forgot to go look at that too, by the way.
Foley was not drunk last night. I teased him with some Tilly pictures to get him fired up, and that was about it. That was the fun part of it. Of course, Ellie was in stream, so he saw the red hair, and he kind of got a little crazy about that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Uh-huh. But that was just about how the night went. So what is everybody else out there doing tonight? At least we know Cinnabon's in chat, so he's not out causing trouble tonight. I was watching Moira Kitty earlier today. She was running around at protests, videotaping Antifa people and then telling on them. It was funny. That was comical.
Oh, I guess the tweet's unavailable for me to look at.
Greetings, Wesley. What? Somebody finally locked that damn thing down?
Yeah. Well, it says, the OMG Cinnabon did. He's on the horse, and I clicked on that link.
Yeah.
Sorry, that page doesn't exist.
Yeah, now it says tweet unavailable for me now, too. It got taken down, damn it. Or the person who owned the tweet locked it down. Son of a bitch. Well, actually, it was just a guy riding a horse down through downtown Chicago.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. Mortimus enjoyed afternoon off for resting my aching knees and ankles. Getting old sucks. Yes, it does, Mortimus. Getting old really sucks. Wait till you gotta go in and have back surgery. Then you'll know how much it really sucks. Wesley's like, what the hell's a city curfew? I haven't had a curfew since I was 16. And Cinnabon says, it's because it was a fake horse. No, it was a real horse. Damn it, I saw it. I grew up with horses. I know what the hell a real horse is. Damn it. I've rode horses. And well, Cinnabon, that's only with those little stinging pellets that do color on you. Like I saw the National Guard using up there in Minneapolis last night. I kind of laughed at that. Get back in your house. Boom, 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 boom. There goes Night Breeze typing things again.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to mute it.
No, you're just sending messages to some gal on Prawn Hub.
No, actually, that's one of my best friends about EverQuest.
Okay, so Resolute says it was a fake rider. Okay. Fake rider. Real horse fake rider. Had a mannequin up on there probably. I don't know. Well, Cinnabon, you're allowed to go home from work. Twitter's just going all nuts. I have been finding some. I found some fun tweets like this one from William Shatner. William Shatner just tweeted, "Like my women, fast with curves." Well, there you go, Bill. You're going to get called a misogynist now. But it is a funny little tweet from William Shatner. Oh, Wesley, LA is not the only cities under lockdown. Chicago is, hell. New York, a whole bunch of them are.
Yeah. Well, Chicago they actually had a cop being dragged down the street after being beaten. And of course, people just standing there recording it, not doing anything.
I don't know. The funniest one I've seen in a few days was all them protesters pushing a dumpster and they squished their own protester between the dumpster and the fence. Now that was funny.
I missed
And,
that one.
and there is one from earlier today where one of them Antifa idiots was trying to bang up a chunk of concrete to throw at the building, and some of the protesters yelled, "Get the white guy," and they grabbed a hold of him and drug him over to the police.
Oh, wow.
That one was funny too. And some skinny kid, white kid, ran up behind the one that was banging on it and kicked him in the butt carrying a skateboard, and then ran away real quick. It was a comical little video. But I love that they were like, "Get the white guy," and they all charged after him and then drug his ass over to the police. They're starting to finally catch on, take out the Antifa guys. Yeah, there was the guy that set himself on fire too. Yeah, but Thomas, they only suspended one because I can still go on there and find a whole bunch of them still sitting up. Well, Mortimus, you can't get to that peaceful portrayal of the future in Trek until you have World War III. Got to have the Eastern Bloc against, yeah, you got to have all that. So we haven't had that yet. Pfluger's glad he's drunken in West Minnesota.
Oh, hey, did you hear a guy got arrested out front of Walmart today? They're in town.
No.
I guess he was blocking traffic right in front of Walmart with his shirt off, and like 4 cops dragged him away.
Alrighty then. I was hearing rumors there's supposed to be a protest here in town tonight.
I don't know about there, but I'm hearing stuff about where I used to work over in Sandburg town.
I've just been hearing little rumors here and there that there's supposed to be a whole bunch of people going out tonight. I figure there's enough rednecks here in town, they'll just go out and take care of it themselves.
Yeah.
Especially since the bars are back open.
Yeah, they finally reopened the bars. You're going to disrupt that. Not a smart idea in this town.
Even though some of the bars can only be open if they have outdoors facilities for people to drink in, because they can't be indoors yet. They can be outdoors. That makes it worse because all them outdoors people are going to see what's going on and they're going to go, "Hey, we're drunk. We haven't been out. And you guys are trying to screw this up. You're done." Or
yeah. You know, well, I haven't been to most of the bars there recently, but I can think of a couple that you disturb them, and yeah. You know, in the one, I've watched 2 ladies duke it out and then buy each other drinks.
all right, Seth, you have a fun stream. I may be over there soon.
Yeah, have a good one, Seth.
And Mr. Londell says, first we have to invent Khan. Then he has to take over Asia. Then World War III. So yeah, we're not anywhere near. We got to have Khan first. And I don't make a good Khan because I take my shirt off and I just don't look like it. So I can't be Khan. I'm sorry. Khan! Wow. We're not doing too bad for a Sunday night. 16 people. Not too bad.
We got enough for bracketeering. And that was a joke, by the way.
I know. But it's the Sunday night pain train. So we got the old odd one here, and I look like Sloth. Or I borrowed Night Breeze's picture. You guys figure it out.
Hey, my mommy still loves me, so that's all that counts.
Bud says he don't fear PETA. I fully support people eating tasty animals. I know, Darren. No notifications.
Hi, number one sci-fi.
Hello, number one. I don't know what's up with the notification thing. All kinds of people have been complaining today that they've been getting no notifications.
Yeah. It was over 20 minutes before I got the notification for Birdstream, and I was actually on Birdstream when I got the notification.
No, we're not going to sing, Curtis. I'm sorry. We're not doing a duet.
We are, by law, we are not allowed to sing together.
We would be arguing all night which one Sunny and which one Cher was. And hello, LDG.
Hello.
Melody, how you doing?
Hey guys.
We have the
and no Fugger, I will not.
We have the spinning wheel of doom, and now we have Darren Wagner up here. So we've got plenty of damn good talk show up here tonight.
Greetings. How you guys doing?
We're not having the debate though tonight. No debates. We don't need no stinking notifications, says Wesley. So what's Darren up to tonight? What's LDG up to tonight?
You can go first.
I'm doing okay, I guess. It's been kind of out of it today. But I saw you stream, so I just wanted to jump on and see what's up. Pretty much been resting all day today, so my batteries are basically 110% charged. Don't even know if I'll go back to sleep anytime soon. Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, Wesley, real quick, what curfew means is in your area, you cannot go outside of your house until morning. You can't go to the store. You can't do nothing. They're trying to crack down and catch all the goofballs breaking into shit. That's what curfew means. And back to the regular amount of the show.
But yeah, how's everybody else doing today, man?
It's been
a weird Sunday. You too?
Yep. Off and on all day I've been dozing.
Ever since I passed 35, man, I've been kind of been introduced to this having to rest every now and then kind of thing.
Wait till you hit 45.
Yeah, it's like 5 years away. It's getting worse.
So
but yesterday I got pretty wet. It was raining here in Florida pretty bad, and I got soaking wet going from my car to and then out of my car into my house. I don't know if maybe I caught a little something there too because I was drenched.
You got COVID.
Not like 2 seconds. It was raining so hard that just 5 seconds of rain made it look like I was out there for an hour.
So you got your shower
twice. And then I slipped. Then I slipped on the Pixels. So I was leaving the Pixels residence. I slipped on his thing and just landed in a puddle during the pouring rain. Yeah, lots of fun. Anywho,
well, at least you got a shower without any of that black, smelly sludge stuff.
Yeah.
Mortimer says, I think LDG's avatar needs to come with an epilepsy warning.
This one's safe. Come on.
How come you're the...
I can get epilepsy. You want epilepsy? Give me 1 minute.
How come you're Slar tonight, DJ?
How come I'm what?
Can you hear me?
Well, now I can.
Okay. My volume must be kind of goofy here.
Yeah, it's a little lower than normal.
Yeah, let me see if I can fix that.
Was waiting for Lagchum tonight, but I guess that wasn't happening.
No, that got canceled. I don't know the reason why. I just know it got canceled.
Hey, DJ, what's going on?
Out?
What's up, Captain?
Hey, Cap.
Oh, just saw your stream. Just wanted to see what's going on.
Not much.
So what's the pain?
It's just the normal. That's all.
Yep. Understood.
Damn, I'm getting comments off of StreamYard tabs. What the hell? I made that one like 15 months ago. Actually, it was only 2 months ago, but I keep that up, and StreamYard's going to try to put me on their work detail. Hello, Happy Dinosaur.
Hey, Happy Dinosaur, how are you?
Yeah, I don't think LTG, they want some epileptic looking things.
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah, there you
Happy?
go. They're happy.
So why do you have your Slar avatar up?
Because I just couldn't think of anything else really to put up tonight.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute. I could put that one off to ward off all the Alexanders.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
I could put up Weird Al just for the. Oh, wait a minute. We'll just leave Gabby up there for a while.
Yeah, hot chicks are fine.
There we go. We'll put Gabriella up there for a while.
Oh yeah. That's a whole nother condition you'll be exaggerating.
Only for you. Only for you.
Yeah. If it's not epileptic, it's something else. You know what? I'm just
No.
gonna put a black dot in the middle of my icon. That's what I'll be.
That's right. 47 Yorktown Vote Crystal Skull 2020. I should get that. See if I can get people to vote on it. I seen it was losing last time I checked, which is not nice. Because, hell, we all know Galaxy Quest can win next week. But this might be the only chance we get to vote on Crystal Skull, because Bird will be mean and take it off because, it didn't win, so it's gone. So, here's Bird of Prey 5's voting on what movie he has to do next week. Click on Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Let's make Bird suffer. Come on, people.
I know.
Okay.
I have yet to see that.
It's at 28% right now. It's being beat by Galaxy Quest, which is at 43%. So we have to.
Okay, I'm changing my vote to that for you.
We have to pad the voting to make Bird go nuts, because it'll be fun making Bird watch that movie.
Galaxy Quest is not 41%.
And we will vote for Galaxy Quest for everybody that wants it all next week. That's
Yes.
a promise. Well, let's make Bird suffer, damn it. Yeah, I know Bird's been cheating and upvoting Galaxy Quest all day today.
Hasn't Bird suffered enough?
No, Bird never
okay.
suffers enough.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey, Happy voted for Crystal Skull.
It depends
All
on
right.
what you're talking about.
So we got Crystal Skull up to 31% now. And I see we got Jeff here.
38%.
Well, you don't have to watch it, actually. You can mute the sound Cinnabon, or you can turn the sound down and just listen to Bird suffer. That you don't concentrate on the movie, just concentrate on Bird.
Yeah.
That'd be the best part of it. Hello, Jeff.
Why can I not find this thing?
And there might be an occasional person like Darren that hasn't seen Crystal Skull, so he can see exactly why everybody hates it so much.
Well, I saw clips of the CGI monkeys and stuff, and I was happy with how the Last Crusade ended for the series. So
I'll be honest, I don't hate Crystal Skulls. I don't think it's the best Indiana Jones movie. It's actually the worst of the 4, but it wasn't completely terrible.
I'm not a huge Shia LaBeouf fan either.
Just
Even
look
Go ahead.
Just look at it this way, Cinnabon. While Bird's being forced to watch Crystal Skull, I'll do a live stream at the same time we can play Risk.
Well, I figured out my microphone. Apparently, my output had been.
Now you're coming in loud and clear.
Yeah, my output
Absolutely.
had been set too low by something, probably some other piece of software I was using today. I don't know. But it's fixed now.
Epic Beard's here now.
And Jeff Franklin's having some issue. He said,
Yep, I see it. He'll be back at some point. That's right. He did have Elvis in it. Had Hound Dog. Life with Matthew is here. He said that's a familiar looking avatar there. Yes, it's Gabrielle, Life with Matthew.
Changed my
There you
vote.
go.
Well, Trek Culture put out another masterpiece video today.
Uh-oh, what was that?
The 10 most inappropriate moments in Star Trek TNG. Because, they're huge fans of Star Trek, so that's the kind of videos they like to make.
Greetings, Trey. Yeah. And I'm sure that they picked out ones that we'd never certainly.
Well, they actually picked one that I didn't have a problem with, and that was when they blew up Rennick's body at the end of season 1.
Okay, what was wrong with that?
Yeah, well, they said that was like too gory for television, back in.
God.
And I'm like, gore was fine. It was the 80s. People were really into gore in the 80s. I mean, thanks to VHS, us kids got to see Freddy Krueger movies before we were really old enough to go see them in the theater. So, I mean,
Yeah.
a split second of what is obviously a dummy getting blown apart by
Yeah.
phaser fire is not an
Yeah.
issue.
Almost close to stop action. Like
Yeah. Stop motion. Yeah. It was almost.
I remember when we used to have movies when we were a kid where the VHS made you afraid to click the play button. Like you literally did not want to hit play on Freddy Nightmare. You were, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Cinnabon, Trek Culture is one of the ancillary channels of What Culture, which is a British pro wrestling channel that started out pretty good. They had some really good talent there, and then they all jumped ship, and now they just got a bunch of hacks, and they're expanding and making top 10 videos regarding Star Trek on the Trek Culture channel.
Oh, this could be getting interesting. People are setting fires outside the White House.
Lovely. Guys, you want to make a change, you can do it a different way than the way you guys are doing it. But that's okay.
Hey, here's happy news. Happy is up to 80 subs now. We've almost
Awesome.
got
Police cars.
way to go.
100. We've almost got Happy up to 100. Yay. Yeah, I kind of hate all those top 10 videos too, because usually the ones that are doing them don't know what the hell they're talking about. And
Yes. Agreed. It's almost like they just spin a wheel of Trek and just stop their finger on whatever stops.
I went to a couple of them they did on Doctor Who, and I just start slamming and bashing them.
Mm-hmm.
Susan Rice claims without evidence that Russia could be funding riots. You all know who Susan Rice is?
Yes, I know who Susan Rice is.
Well, her current job is she's on the board of for Netflix.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I'm going to throw this out there one more time. Go to Bird of Prey 5's community tab, which is where it's already going to, and vote for Crystal Skull. Yes, vote for Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Let's make Bird of Prey 5 suffer and have to watch that movie.
What's the link?
I just threw it into the chat, and it's Crystal Skull's back up to 35% now. Galaxy Quest is still at a lead with 38% because Bird used all his hack accounts to try to make sure that it won.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. I can counter that. Thanks for reminding me. 1 second. Please hold. Let's see what I can do.
Oh, just you were talking. There was fires at the White House. The World War II memorial was vandalized.
Of course it was.
There's also a story coming out of Minneapolis that
There we go.
That both the cop and the guy he killed both worked at the same nightclub.
Yep. Apparently they didn't work in the same part, but they could have crossed paths during that year
Weird.
because they worked there during the same year.
How's that for you? How's that for you, boss? You happy? Wait, I got a couple more too. Wait 1 second.
Hold on, we'll refresh and I'll keep looking. Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is now in the lead at 39% against 36%.
All right.
Thank you, Trey.
Think we can
And
squeeze one more percent.
folks, just remember, folks, if I have to, I will stream alongside a Bird that day, and we can play Risk or something while Bird has to suffer through the Crystal Skull.
That would be awesome.
It's gonna be funny.
That would be so funny. And then
He's gonna
Bird would
wake
have
up-
like,
He's gonna wake up tomorrow and see how this jumped so bad on him. And he's like gonna yell, "Son of a bitch!"
it's gonna wonder why no one's chatting in this chat, and we're all over at yours watching Risk, and he's got like 32 people, but the chat's like dead quiet, and over here we're pumping crazy, laughing. All right, I just got you another percent. There you go. That's the best I can do.
Alrighty.
That's everything.
38%. Yes.
39 now. 39.
I just
Yes.
let me
Well,
refresh.
Hey,
We're
DJ,
gonna make sure this happens.
39%. Yes.
y'all have a great day. I'm gonna jump over to Sith's for stream for a little bit and then probably log off.
All
Okay.
All right.
All
Yeah,
right, night,
good night.
Breeze. Take it easy, man.
too.
right. Beard, you've had that wrench for quite a while. Boy, Beard doesn't remember much.
Now, remember, we got to do this without actually telling Bird. Okay, everyone?
Unless he actually rewinds and listens to the stream tomorrow.
Yeah. Which
I don't
you can
think
just
he'll do
privatize real quick. Yeah, you just private this real quick for a couple days and just bring it back after. As long
No,
as there's
we'll
no,
get the Princess Bride to win, Wesley. Don't worry. We'll get it to win. We just
How
want to
how does he select these movies? I mean, I know by vote, but how does he select the ones that you vote on?
Sometimes he's just asking us in chat for ideas. I know that's how Princess Bride got up there.
You guys remember a movie from the 80s called Lady Hawk?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Both of them, they could never match up
Yeah.
because they changed day and
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. Except at dusk and at dawn, they could briefly see each other. And then during an eclipse, they could both be at the same place. But yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a pretty cool movie back in the day. I haven't seen it, though, since 1986. So I don't know what I'd think of it now.
Yeah, I'd be afraid to watch it now because I'd probably think it was dumb.
Yeah. But it had Michelle Pfeiffer in it, and very young Michelle Pfeiffer. So
Dumb is in dumb, or dumb is in today's dumb standards. Ugh.
yeah, it's it was it was a sword and fantasy film, but it was very light on the fantasy part, and it had Rutger Hauer as one of the characters. The main character is Matthew Broderick, who played like a prison, a guy in prison who was like a professional fool or something that got thrown in jail, and Rutger Hauer's character sort of rescues him, and then the way it works is that during the daytime, Rutger Hauer has this falcon that travels with him, and then during the nighttime, he turns into a wolf, and the falcon turns into a woman. So at night, it's a woman and a wolf that traveled together. And the reason why he was cursed they were cursed both by an evil Catholic bishop who dabbled in sorcery and gave them this predicament, and they basically get revenge on him, I guess, eventually. So I can't remember the exact plot. Besides that, there might have been another thing going on there, but that was it.
Holding strong at 39. Good stuff. All right, guys. This might be cool.
It's at 40 now.
Oh, did it just tick to 40? Nice.
I forgot. I never used Boxy.
Ah,
I have my Boxy account. I remembered that one. Cinnabon doesn't want to hang out with a bunch of dudes and watch Date Flick.
Well,
Yeah,
Princess Bride, I don't remember Princess Bride being so much a date flick because, Fred Savage, I think, was like in it right away, and it was almost like a kid's movie to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And while it did have its love story part to it, it also had quite a bit of action with sword fights. So,
Yeah. Christopher.
and you had Andre the Giant. So, what could
Yeah.
go wrong?
Yeah, that was, I think, the first movie I ever saw Mandy Patinkin in, and what was it? Christopher Sarandon was in it too. It was like the second movie I think I'd seen him in at that point.
He did a good vampire.
Oh yeah, Fright Night was one of my favorite vampire movies of all time. Horror films, actually. It was.
Oh, Happy Dinosaurs chomping on Philly cheesesteaks.
That sounds wonderful. And yes, Wesley Crusher, yes, we have to vote for that because we want to make Bird suffer.
Mortimer asks, on behalf of Bird, exactly how much of a grace period does a 1 week hospital stay get you? We are all supportive of him a week ago. Well, yeah, that's over with now.
Oh, see, we're still supportive of him, but he is very anti-Crystal Skull. So, and I'm very vocal about it.
Tiki says Bird needs to treat himself and watch Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh,
That's too cruel.
I would do a double feature, Superman 3 and 4.
Oh, good God. I don't hate the man.
Just do 3 and 4 back to back and get it out of the way.
Well, we'd make sure Bird was asleep then.
Hello, Peggy. Tiki also includes Godzilla 1997. Wasn't that 98? Matthew Broderick.
What's that?
Wasn't it 98 when the Broderick one came out?
The Broderick Godzilla? I think it was
Yeah.
98, yeah.
Yeah, 98. So, yeah, we could give Bird to watch that one, too. After all all these ideas is going to make him appreciate Crystal Skull better.
Did you guys catch Mora?
Yeah, I seen Moira's live stream. I was like lurking. I didn't say nothing, but I was watching her.
She was getting in the thick of it all.
Yep. Well,
Peggy,
we're not discussing just horrible movies. We're discussing the absolute most horrible movies. Fluger says he'll watch Discovery before Crystal Skull.
Well, how about Ghostbusters 2016?
No, I couldn't even do that to Bird.
No, see that I wanted to name something that nobody would make Bird endure. So yeah, see. I haven't seen it, won't see it.
Epic wants to make Bird listen to Puberty Love from Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I think he only wants to do that because I made Beard listen to it on my radio show a couple of weeks ago.
There are some bad movies that are fun to watch, though. I mean, we wouldn't call Ghostbusters 2016 one of those movies, but
No.
for example, Superman 3, which was just mentioned by somebody, that's actually got some merit to it. So
Superman 3 would have been better if it didn't have them damn arcade graphics for
well, that was one scene. I mean, that was
and the whole fake red kryptonite that split Superman in half. And
I actually kind of liked that, to be honest, although I didn't like the idea of Superman being evil. I thought, it was like they doubled down on the mistake they made in the second movie by having Superman sleep with Lois.
and she exactly wasn't the cutest Lois ever.
Oh, I thought Margot Kidder was cute, but she had a big mouth.
I think every other Lois Lane they've ever picked was better.
I didn't like the one from Superman Returns.
Okay, I'll put that up there too. I didn't like her much.
She had no chemistry with Brennan Routh, and then Terry Hatcher wasn't bad for the TV show.
She was better in Tango and Cash, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, she had a smaller part, but Amy Adams, I'm not terribly impressed with either, but now them with Roddy Piper, that's a good movie, but that's a kind of movie that I would appreciate probably more than Bird.
The boringest movie I ever saw that I walked out of was Fantasia.
The cartoon from Disney.
Yeah.
Well, it's not exactly a movie.
If it plays at the movie theater, it's a movie. But I agree with you, but it plays at the movie theater, it's a movie.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's more of a musical experience.
Yeah, like why would they even make a movie out of it? Like seriously, that should have been like a play or a parade or something. Not a movie.
Disney was cranking out a lot of stuff back then. That was kind of an experiment.
Yeah.
A lot of cult stuff in that too. And the only movie I ever walked out on was the Fellowship of the Ring, and it wasn't by choice. The guys, friends of mine who had gone to see with it. I just got out of the service and I hadn't seen the movie yet, and they wanted, let's go. I'll go see that. I'll go see it again. And then the movie got 20 minutes in, like, I don't feel like sitting through this again. And I'm like, what? So we left.
I was going to walk out of The Last Jedi, but I fell asleep.
I felt like walking out of The Mummy with Tom Cruise, but I was with my brother, and we have this thing where we don't walk out of a movie, typically. But I felt like walking out of that one because that was just Alex Kurtzman shit.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that movie.
Yeah.
It made me appreciate the original so much better.
Well, the best part about the movie was Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll. And I'm like, I want to see a movie with this guy. This is better, And it's like, no, he's just, because they're trying to build a universe, and they even came up with the Dark Universe logo, and because The Mummy just didn't do very well, it never took off. It's like they've tried 3 times now. Universal has to start a shared universe for all their classic monsters. The first one was Dracula Untold, and that didn't do well. I actually thought that was a pretty good movie. Mummy was not, and then this latest one, they're just going to do a non-universe series of movies. So The Invisible Man was their third attempt, and that was a nice small movie that made some money because it was a low budget.
Happy Dinosaur walked out and don't mess with a Zohan.
No,
If
no,
they
no,
want
no,
to
no.
do that, they should have leaded with Beetlejuice. That would be a good one.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, because at Universal they did have something like that where they had all the monsters together, and Beetlejuice was the one who brought them all together.
Huh. Okay, I didn't realize Beetlejuice was a Universal monster.
I don't know. They bought him out, but he's at Universal Studios.
Let me take a look here. Beetlejuice. It was a Warner Brothers movie.
Originally, but did they own it now? I'm telling you, there was a Beetlejuice show at Universal Studios.
Well, Universal Studios has a Conan show too, and they don't own Conan. I mean, that's all licensed stuff to be at the park.
Oh, it's licensed. Okay.
Yeah, but the Universal Studios monsters would be like the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, Wolfman. They're particular versions of those characters. Van Helsing was a film that utilized interpretations of all the Universal classic monsters. So even though a lot of those monsters are public domain, Dracula is public domain, for example, but Universal is sort of like the home of Dracula when it comes to movies. And in contrast, the Legendary Pictures has done a pretty good job of creating their own monster universe with the Godzilla, King Kong films lately.
I don't know. I'd rather just watch the old classic Universals.
By their own, they just base it by the way, their own only means somebody else something doesn't own slightly different.
What's that now?
I said when you say their own, that only really means that they made something that didn't fit that somebody else didn't already own, and they just made it slightly different.
Right. I mean, yeah, anybody can print a Dracula story. Anybody can make a Dracula movie. It just can't be a Dracula that looks too much like one that's already been trademarked by another company. It's kind of like if I wanted to do a Thor comic, my Thor couldn't look anything like Marvel's Thor. Problem is, though, that Marvel now has created so many different versions of the fourth Thor that look so many different ways, you really probably couldn't do that either. So,
Yeah, you should lose.
Yeah.
That's just horrible.
yeah. But anyway.
Oh, let's talk happy though, guys. Come on. I got through season 2 of Orville. Episode 8 right now. All the way to season 2, episode 8. Almost done.
Wish that
Nope.
thing would... Go ahead.
A lot of those equipment they used in Young Frankenstein were some of the classic
Yeah.
Universal Marvel from the old movies.
Yeah, that is my favorite Mel Brooks movie, and one of the reasons why is because not only did they get some of that original equipment, but also they got a hold of some of the last black and white film stock that they had at Universal had, and because everything had gone to color for years now, and they were and they just happened to have it, and they had enough to make that movie, and so it was filmed on the exact same kind of film that.
You mean the media? You mean the actual media?
The actual
film media?
actual film media, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and they also hired a cinematographer who had done some of these older horror films in black and white because they had to get somebody who knew how to do cinematography in black and white because a lot of people that worked for the studio didn't know how to do that anymore because they hadn't had a lot of black and white done, and that's why it looks so good. I mean, they're mimicking the style of the old Universal horror pictures, but they actually got a guy who knew how to do that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you had to use certain colors and red looks black, and you have to have somebody who knows all about that stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, just the shot where the stagecoach is moving through the mist and stuff like that. That was a really great shot.
Roll in the hay.
I remember, I saw that when it was on television when I saw it as a kid. I was home by myself one night, and I thought it was a horror film. I didn't realize it was a comedy. But I remember being kind of freaked out at the beginning when the guy opens up that coffin and you got this skeleton holding a box, and he tries to take the box from the skeleton, and the skeleton pulls the box back. And it was just very slapstick, but that was shocking to me.
Oh no, the skeleton's moving.
Yeah, Cloris Leachman also was pretty interesting in that movie.
Frau Blucher.
Yeah, Now the Hammer version of Dracula, I do think those are fun movies. I like the British take on them. They're very sumptuous to look at. Everybody looks kind of greasy in that because the makeup that they use and the lighting. But the thing that does kind of bother me about the Hammer films is that they used day for night when they shot, and day for night looks like day for night to me. It doesn't look like nighttime at all. So. Yeah. You know what that is, right?
Yeah, shoot during the day for night shots, night during the day for.
Yeah, they put a filter over the lens to darken it to try to simulate night. The problem is all the shadows are so, the shadows are so distinct, and the moonlight doesn't quite get that bright, so.
Unless it's on a snowy field.
Yeah.
Then it gets quite bright.
Right, but that's typically not the environment of a Hammer film. But the one that I remember, I think, seeing the first was Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. And, of course, Christopher Lee, and, it had a bunch of Catholics in it, and I was Catholic at the time, so...
Yeah, the one thing I find on I'm watching Orville, right? So I'm like really critiquing the hell out of it, and seeing where are they trying to not copy, but I'll use the word copy Star Trek or imitate Star Trek or improve it here and do this and that, mistakes, whatever. And the one thing that I'm seeing the most, that the only thing that they're really doing that's even like hurting my eyes when I see it happen, is the shots where they show the ship, evasive maneuvers, get us out of here, and then the ship's like making a huge fast U-turn and like busting balls, and then the next exact scene is them behind a window and the stars are dead stop. We're supposed to be bat on to hell. The next exact scene, which is literally right back within that scene, dead stop.
Well, the stars, would the stars be moving? I know on Star Trek The Next Generation, they showed the stars whizzing past the ship, but if they're not at some sort of faster than light travel, would they necessarily see the stars moving anyway?
It depends how fast they're traveling, and certain stars would move faster than others, depending on how fast you're actually going. But a absolute dead stop, no.
Yeah. My dad always used to get confused whenever he watched TNG with me because he couldn't distinguish the stars that were whizzing by in the background to the ones that are really close to the ship. I'm like, those aren't stars. The things that are moving close to it, those are just particles. That they did that to show acceleration, and he just he didn't like that.
Well, well, some of them were particles, but some of them were stars. It depends what scene you're talking about, I guess.
Yeah. Especially in the first two seasons, that effect was really. They showed literal stars whizzing past the ship, and they were tiny, and my dad gets confused by stuff like that. He for example, he used to think that the stormtroopers were robots. I'm like, well, I think Dad, you're thinking. I think you're thinking of Cylons, Dad. It's like no, what's the difference between those and 3PO? I'm like, well, for one thing, Luke and Han got into a stormtrooper outfits. So there you go. But
he could have hollowed out an android.
What's that? Yeah, they could have hollowed out an android in the time it took them to. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you're right there. But but his big thing was, they don't have names, they have numbers. TK421. I'm like, goodness.
Well, they're clones.
I don't know that everybody knew that. You couldn't tell that from watching the Star Wars film, the original Star Wars film. So, but yeah. Watching sci-fi movies with my dad was sometimes very painful.
Yeah, well,
if he found one thing wrong with something, the whole film was ruined to him. So,
right? Well, no, hey, everyone's kind of like that, and they all got their. I'm like that too. But back then, sci-fi was like different back then.
Oh yeah, I mean back then it's funny.
Frankenstein was sci-fi.
The 80s had all kinds of low budget science fiction and fantasy films that came out. I mean, there was a lot more than has come out in the theaters this decade so far, or the last decade. The decade we just finished. I mean, I remember, you'd have in 1 year you'd have, at least 2 major fantasy films come out, like Willow or Crawl or something like that, and all kinds of other low budget horror and stuff like that, not just the Friday the 13th. And now everything is so expensive. I think that they don't make cheap little horror films as often anymore. That's when I mentioned The Invisible Man earlier. That's an Invisible Man movie is one of the cheapest movies you can make in terms of fantasy.
Very hard to screw that up. Yeah,
because all you really need is an actor who knows how to pretend there's somebody there. But the twist in the remake of the Invisible Man film is actually I thought was kind of neat because it was original. It wasn't taken from the H.G. Wells story. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I thought it was a good reinterpretation.
Roja.
Yeah.
All right, where are we at now?
It's kind of like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. You guys remember that movie?
Oh God, yeah. With that, the one with what's his name? Sean Connery. Sean Connery. Yeah, it was an interesting comic book. I mean, it was written by Alan Moore and illustrated by Kevin O'Neill, but the movie just took the concept and went crazy with it to the point where it really didn't match tonally the comic at all. And they made Mina Harker an actual vampire, and they included Dorian Gray and Tom Sawyer of all people. And it's like, Tom Sawyer, did you not? This is all about Victorian British characters, not American, literature characters. Yeah. So did like the transformation for Jekyll and Hyde though.
That was an interesting choice for Jekyll and Hyde. It was almost like they were so afraid of using CG for certain things. There was this weird time in the early O's where Hollywood seemed to want to refrain from using CGI when it would obviously be the best choice. Like the Fantastic Four films with Michael Chiklis, he wore a rubber suit as the Thing, and the obvious choice would have been to have a CGI character. Obviously, that's kind of what CGI is really good at. You animate something. That's exactly. But it was like they were afraid of using it. And I tell you, that suit that he had to wear, it had to be designed, and all the repairs they had to make to it as they were filming and such. That actually was just as expensive as a CGI effect would have been. In fact, they enhanced it with CGI in a couple of scenes. So I mean, it wasn't like they completely removed that.
Greetings, Mr. Lundell.
Hello, Mr. Lundell. How are you?
Hey. Yeah, you were talking about being grim, but look at what they did in Fantastic. That was CG, and it looked ugly.
Well, that was an ugly design.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not, I mean, there's ways you can make the Thing look, lovable and, and stuff like that too. And they chose not to do that. They even had him run around naked basically, which I didn't care for. He should have a pair of blue trunks on.
Yeah, true.
We don't need to know what's under the trunks. That is something that's we're fine with not knowing.
Yeah. But in the comics, he wore a pair of blue tights. Speedo.
Trunks or tights. It depends on what time. I mean, there was up until I think the 90s. I think the late 80s. They gave him actual like pants. They're still unstable molecules, still really tight to his skin, rock skin or whatever. But then he also had shoes for some strange reason. So.
And Mortimus, I have no idea when we'll see another great adult animated movie.
One movie I've always heard about and I've seen clips of that I've never seen is Fire and Ice from the 80s. It's a Ralph Bakshi rotoscoped Frank Frazetta inspired cartoon fantasy.
Fire and Ice.
Yeah, it's animated.
I'm trying to rack my brain. Have I seen it? You know me, looking at my channel, I love the lousy B movies.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, Fire and Ice was 83. It came out. And apparently they wanted the chick in that movie to be naked, but they couldn't get it past the studio, so they put this bikini on her that would have fallen off, in seconds, but it stays on, just
that
to,
was
yeah,
that was so typical in the 80s.
Yeah.
Sybil Danning.
Yeah.
Okay, you know the name. So
yeah.
If she didn't take her clothes off, she wasn't in the damn movie. Okay.
Oh, I know. She was at least topless everywhere. The only movie I ever saw where she didn't take her clothes off was that awful Rob Zombie remake of Halloween, where she played the nurse, and it was just like a cameo that she did, Sybil Danning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to ask her how cool was it to work with Christopher Lee, though?
Yeah. Yeah, Sybil Danning had a great looking face, and also she obviously had a lot of upper body.
She had a very nice body.
Yeah.
And she was probably late 30s, I would assume.
Yeah. Yeah, Mortimus Maximus says that the Ralph Bakshi was responsible for a lot of very successful animated movies back then. I don't know if I'd call them a successful. I mean, they certainly had cult followings. Fritz the Cat being one of them, and American Pop was another. The thing one thing I never liked about his feature animation was that he used rotoscoping, and to me, rotoscoping is. I don't like the look of it because it looks like somebody's essentially traced. The animation, but I mean, in terms of obviously of adding realism to your animation, you can't beat it because you're adding literal realism to the animation. The thing I remember about Ralph Bakshi though was in the 80s he had gotten the license to do a Mighty Mouse cartoon for Saturday mornings on CBS, and it was a fairly good cartoon. But he immediately got fired, and they canceled it right in the middle of the first season, I believe it was, because Ralph Bakshi, being a guy who made adult animation, couldn't help himself, and he actually had Mighty Mouse for a split second snorting a foreign substance through his nose, and the censors caught it, and they terminated his contract and kicked him off the air. So he kind of ruined himself by doing that. But the thing was, I mean, the animators were doing that kind of stuff at Disney and Warner Brothers all the time. I mean,
they're doing worse than that.
You hear these stories where these animators had put like single frames of
Roger Rabbit
of the seven dwarves all servicing Snow White, and they of course had no in their wildest dreams they never imagined that somebody would be able to take a digital copy of that movie, take it home, and watch it frame by frame.
Oh yeah,
and that's so all of a sudden Disney found out after the fact, after they started digitizing all these movies, and these things were being discovered by people who bought the home movies. They had to go back through all their whole library, frame by frame, and take out all the little porno slides that the animators were making just as jokes and just to keep themselves sane.
Easter eggs. That's all it is. Easter eggs.
Easter eggs. Yeah.
There's no shame in Easter eggs.
It's like Marvel Comics has also had to do some things too because. Go ahead.
There was one in Roger Rabbit. Do you remember that one?
Well, there's a couple of things about Roger Rabbit that stood out to me, but I don't remember exactly the pornos.
The one that I know about, the only one I know about. Remember when Jessica Rabbit threw what's his name off the building and he fell all the way down the building,
right?
The big sky rise. Mm-hmm. Look at that scene where you're seeing the windows go up fast as hell. Frame by frame by frame by frame. There's one frame where you see like some people doing it in the window or some crazy thing going on in one of those windows as he's falling down.
There was supposed to have been another frame in there where you saw underneath her dress.
Yeah, I remember that. That's the one I remember. But the one thing about Roger Rabbit, I saw this in the theater when it came out, and I just about jumped out of my chair because I'm one of those people. I can understand what Donald Duck is saying, right? They had the scene where where Bob Hoskins' character goes into this bar. It's a piano bar, and on the stage is Daffy Duck and Donald Duck doing an act. Daffy Duck is the Warner Brothers Duck who's black, and not like ethnic black. I'm talking about just he's a color black duck. Mm-hmm. And then Donald Duck is the Disney one who talks with a quack, and he's white. And Daffy Duck is berating how the speech impediment of Donald Duck in the scene, and Donald Duck says, he says it in his quack voice. He says, shut up, you doggone stupid," and then he says the N-word. And I just about jumped out of my chair. I'm like, and nobody else I was with or anybody else in the theater seemed to notice that but me. And when I got the original VHS release, I went back to that scene, and back then you had this thing you could on your VCR, which they have it now too, but they had them on VHS. It's called closed captioning.
Yeah.
For the deaf, and I put that on there, and sure enough, there it is, right on the screen. Huh. But then in subsequent issuings of that film on other media, later VHS and also DVD and all that stuff, it's been taken out with an unintelligible quacking sound. But
confirmed, Peggy's going back to watch Roger Rabbit just to look for some two people doing it in the window as Roger Rabbit.
But Marvel Comics had some things in it too. Back in the old days, there was a little place on the cover in the lower left-hand corner where the barcode would normally go if because back then comic books were a mass market item that had to have a barcode, so grocery stores and things could scan them. And so because that area was always going to get covered up with a barcode, the artist put things there that sometimes were kind of racist and or sexist or whatnot. And so a lot of the original art has that on there. And
real quick, guys. Does Mora want to get thrown in jail?
Mora who?
Mora Kitty.
Mora Kitty.
What's she doing?
She streamed again, and she is literally like she's at the cops' gate. She's outside at dark. I don't know if it's curfew. I'm assuming it's curfew, and she's out in front of the cops. Like you can see the barricades, you can see the flashing lights.
I don't think they have a curfew down there in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe she just, I don't know if she just finished. Anyway, I was just worried for her for a second. I'm like,
her
holy
stream
crap.
is over. Yeah, I just went and checked.
Okay, it looks like it just finished. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Wizards was also a Ralph Bakshi film too, and I remember that one because every time the little girl who was the main character would fly on her fly platform, you could see up her dress.
Yeah, she was naked anyway.
Yeah, she was naked under the dress, and it's like
basically that character was naked anyhow until in that winter scene when he gave her the poncho.
Yeah, I mean, it's
there was a cartoon. There was, and I don't know because I freaked out when I heard this, and this was a long time ago. Fred Flintstone, and it was a Barney joke on a Fred Flintstone actual TV show where Fred and Barney were in the donkey suit or the horse suit. They were in some kind of horse suit episode,
right?
And they were in the place where they were buying it, when they were purchasing it, and Fred was something like, "Well, what?" Something about you being the head or I being the head, and who's going to be the ass, and Barney says, "What would I do with 3 heads?" I was like, "What?
Yeah.
What did you just say? What?"
Well, you got to remember that Flintstones was actually a cartoon on primetime television that was intended more for adults. It was a sitcom.
Yeah.
And so I mean, the reason why I never liked the Flintstones as a kid on Saturday morning or on after school was because it clearly wasn't intended for me. It was a sitcom, just and I didn't care for the whole dinosaur technology thing on that gimmick on the show. But
Ew.
but here's the other thing. I had this other experience that happened to me. This was when I was in college. There was a band called, I want to say, I think it was Tony. It was part of the New Jack Swing sound in music that was happening in the late 80s, early 90s. And they had a song called If I Had No Loot. And this was being played on regular top 40 radio in the Midwest. Pretty conservative out here back then. And there was a refrain
Oh my! Sorry.
in the song. There was a refrain in the song that you could hear someone say, "And you can New Jack Swing on my nuts." Now that's actually a sound bite from Ice Cube saying that from a movie, I guess. But I didn't know that because I didn't watch Ice Cube movies at the time. And I kept telling people, "Can you believe they have that on the radio?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "You didn't hear that?" I'm like, "They said it like 5 or 6 times in that song. You can New Jack Swing on my nuts." And they said, "That's not what it says." And I'm like, well, "What do you think it says?" He goes, "It's the New Jack Swing coming at you." I'm like, "That's not even the same syllables." I said, and they swore up and down that it couldn't possibly be "You can do the New Jack Swing on my nuts" because it wouldn't be on the radio if that's what it said. That was their circular logic. And years later, of course, I'm on the internet and I'm looking this up, and sure enough, that's exactly what it said. And it was one of those things that I remember. Rick Dees. He was he's a guy I think who took over for Casey Kasem on the American Top 40 on Sunday mornings. Who briefly mentioned, everybody thinks it's New Jack Swing on my nuts, but it's actually this other thing. And it was the record label, sort of pulling a fast one and trying to get it on the air. And I just remember, I don't mind. I mean, it's just, but I just remember how the cognitive dissonance of these college students I was with that rationalized that it couldn't possibly be what they were hearing because they were hearing it on the radio. And it was just one of those interesting little episodes of my life where people wouldn't recognize something if it was right in front of them, but anyway.
There's other songs like that. Blinded by the Light. People thought it was wrapped up in a douche. There was,
yeah, right. Yes.
Oh, that's called a mondegreen. That's what that term is. A misheard song lyric. It gets its name from an old Irish song about a colonel named Mondegreen. Oh, what was it? A colonel died and they laid him on the green, but people thought it meant, he died and Lady Mondegreen, meaning it was like a lady with the last name Mondegreen. That's where the term Mondegreen comes from, and that's all about a misheard song lyric. So, for example, so for example, "Don't bring me down, Bruce." It's not what they're saying. They're saying Bruce.
Uh-huh.
The Go-Go's, Alex the Seal. No, it's not Alex the Seal. It's Our Lips Are Sealed.
But Manfred Mann did sing "Wrapped Up Like a Douche" in live concerts just to please the fans.
Oh yeah, sometimes it takes on a life of its own. But sometimes there is actual vulgarity in songs and nobody knows it. For example, in Louie Louie, a song by the Kingsmen that was actually analyzed by the FBI. Yep. They did. There is a point in the song where one of I think it might have been the drummer or the keyboardist drops an F-bomb, and you can barely make it out. And the reason why was because he knocked over a stand that had the music stand on it.
No, they also thought the lyrics were a little dirty too. When that song came out, it was banned from the radio for a while.
Yeah, well, they were the same lyrics that because Louie had been sung by several bands prior to that. But when the Kingsmen did it, here's why they couldn't tell what was being said. It's because the Kingsmen had rented out a studio, and there was a scheduling conflict, and the studio was set up. The recording studio was set up for an orchestra, where the microphone was hanging from the ceiling very high over the band because it was meant for an orchestra. So they could use it on the Saturday or whenever that they recorded the song, but they couldn't change any of the arrangements because it had to be ready for this orchestra that to come in later. So they had to like sing up at the microphone, and when the microphone was way too far away from their mouths, and that's why the song Louie Louie sounds the way it does, it does. And it was just it was I mean, it's still obviously a classic,
it's
but
great.
I mean,
But
if you listen really careful, I can't remember what the actual minute of it is, but somebody you can hear somebody go "fuck," and, in the background.
The only song that I can say to differentiate not putting a S on my name, Louie, like the song. Yeah, there we go. Hey, DJ, real quick, I did put a link. I couldn't believe how fast I found that Barney Rubble joke, and there is no room for interpretation. Guys, if you watch this real quick, I mean, he straight up, this dirty joke from this cartoon that all these kids watched. And when I first heard this on TV, I flipped out. It's 20-second clip from YouTube. I got it in private chat if you want to share it. It cuts right to the joke, like literally right to the joke. Unbelievable.
Huh. Yeah, there was a line from Star Trek: The Next Generation. It was one of those Troy gets raped episodes where she's exercising, doing like yoga or whatever with Dr. Crusher in this part of the ship that apparently you do yoga in, and Crusher, she's talking about how I'm in love and I'm out of control and I feel so free and all this and but and she's like, but I probably should rein myself in and Beverly says something like, well, who cares as long as you curl your toes, meaning as long as you get you have a big O, that was like code and it's like one of those you have to know it's an expression that almost kind of jumps out at the show and breaks the fourth wall because of how unlike every other character. There's no character in Star Trek that would say that. I mean, the next time we saw something like that was probably in Insurrection when Troy and Crusher are talking about how their boobs have firmed up on that planet. But. Peggy Oaks in the chat here, she says that a lot of songs are more dirty than you originally thought. I tell you what, when I was a kid, my second grade Phi Ed teacher had us like do some like jazzercise was this thing that people would do where they would kind of like do a kind of a white person dance to music. Where you weren't moving very much. It was like exercising to music and. She used Olivia Newton-John's Physical, which I heard then many, many years later after puberty had obviously set in. And I'm like, wow, that is a dirty freaking song. And she was making a bunch of second graders, bebop to that shit. That was a personal example that I remember. So. What was another one? She-Bop. She-Bop was another one too because Cyndi Lauper's She-Bop. I had no idea that was a reference to female masturbation at all.
How long did it take you to figure that out?
I think I found out about that like a year or two ago.
The first time, look, I still have the original vinyl album.
Yeah.
The first time I bought it and played it, I knew what she was talking about. Okay, and then you see the video on MTV. Okay,
right.
It just confirmed it.
Yeah, well, here in the Midwest, we weren't as knowledgeable about some of those things, and I mean, I remember the line about a New Boy magazine where and they show her like in the video, like looking at a Tiger Beat magazine or something, and then tossing it away. But I didn't know that the term She-Bop was a reference to that at all.
Well, I didn't understand the slang term, but you listen to the words, you know what she's talking about doing.
Right.
That was it was just apparent from probably the third sentence what she was doing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that were really dirty. Well, obviously, there was a band called Sly Fox that had a song called "Let's Go All the Way," which that was pretty obvious.
Just about anything Prince did.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. I mean,
but what shocked me here in Dallas, they actually played uncut the song "Irresistible Bitch." Yeah, and they actually would play it, and then they did a poll with listeners: should we cut that word out or not play the song at all? They ended up just editing out the word "bitch."
Yeah. Oh, I remember the Beastie Boys, "No Sleep Till Brooklyn," the music video on MTV. They edited out the word "dust." There was this line about their manager. Our manager is crazy. He always smokes dust. It's like, really? I guess they kind of have to because it was the '80s and there was an anti-drug movement in pop culture at the time. But still, now they're just singing about marijuana all the time. But it's funny how that all.
You had Tipper Gore running around screaming about lyrics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. She's the reason why they had to have parental advisory labels on albums. They didn't have that before her legislation was passed.
Yeah, come on. There were songs like "A Whole Lot of Shaking" going on.
Yeah.
No, go back even further. I mean,
Jailhouse Rock.
Wagnerian opera, okay?
Yeah.
Wagnerian opera is full of incest.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yuck.
Yeah, "Shake It Like a Polaroid Film" is not talking about a photo.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture. Go ahead. DJ, you were singing?
Yeah, "One Night of Sin."
Oh.
Old Elvis classic.
Yeah.
They're back to the blues.
Mm.
A lot of the blues songs back in the day.
Or Hard-Headed Woman by Elvis. You couldn't do a song like that today. The feminists would come after you.
That, or you couldn't do half of Howlin' Wolf's songs.
Yeah.
Because you listen to him, you're thinking, okay, he's going to kill her.
Well, it's funny. You talk about how times change and everything. SNL did a parody of one of those infomercials you would see late at night for an album collection.
Yeah,
somebody's greatest hits, and it was about this fictional 50s rock and roll guy called Chucky Lee Bird, who in the commercial is played by Will Ferrell, and they always show him in black and white with digital effects that make it look like it's old footage and superimposed on top of him. And he's he's the poet of teen love, Jimmy Lee Bird, and the songs are all the first song is about his his beauty queen who's only 17, and then the next song he sings is about what is he going to get his girlfriend for her sweet 16. So the girls keep getting younger in age each time they play a clip from his song, the male guy who's introducing and trying to sell you the album is totally oblivious to it, but the woman that he's with is freaking out every time there's she sees a clip from the song, and it's just funny because you think about guys like Jerry Lee Lewis who not only married, I think what was she, like a 13-year-old girl, but it also was like her second cousin or something. She was she was a cousin of some kind to him, and how the rest of the country just didn't find that very cool, and rightfully so, I guess. But down south, apparently that was, at the time, still that was fairly common, child brides and all that happy horse noise. But no, if you find it on YouTube, if you look up SNL Chucky Lee Bird, it's Bird spelled B-Y-R-D. It's funny because the titles of the songs get worse and worse as he goes down. Yeah.
You're 16.
Yeah. Well, then at one point, he sings a song called Farmer Girl, and she plants corn, she plants peas. her daddy hates me because she's only 14, 14, you know, 14, that's her age, she's 14, you know. Okay, she's 12, you know. It's like, you know. And they show like people at a sock hop behind him dancing, and nobody, and the male guy's like, oh, it was a different time back then, you know. And it's like, yeah, but we have to stop that commercial. This guy was sick, you know.
Oh my God! We gotta be careful. Might be a little bit careful here. I think the algorithm is starting to.
Oh really?
Look in our direction right now.
Oh dear.
Why is everybody so afraid of the algorithm?
Yeah.
Votes for Crystal Skull and went to Galaxy Quest again. Son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Well,
people are screwing with it now.
I, for one, welcome our AI overlords. I'd like to remind them that as a YouTuber, I have special influence over the masses.
Yeah. You know, it's just another example of the algorithm should be on our side, not their side. The algorithm should be on our side, helping us filter what we want to see and what we don't want to see as an individual, not the other way around.
It used to. I mean,
I don't care if it used to. I'm talking about right now.
I know. That's what the thumbs up and thumbs down is for on your videos.
But even though those are different. They should no.
Well, see, here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to bring this subject up, but I don't want to have it turn this into a discussion about it. Okay. 2015. if you did a search on YouTube for flat Earth, and you watched enough flat Earth videos, that's what they would keep recommending you. And then you go what's called down the rabbit hole, which means that your next video automatically would be flat Earth related and all that kind of stuff. Well, sometime in late 2017, that all changed. If you looked up a flat Earth video, the algorithm or whatever you want to call it would, after you watched that video, if you kept autoplay on, it would try to forward you to a debunking video about flat Earth. And because now, of course, when you look up flat Earth, there's a link under any video deemed a flat Earth video that takes you to the Wikipedia article on flat Earth, and it says it's an archaic, model that's not used anymore, that kind of thing. So I mean, they're definitely trying to steer people away from that subject, and it's a harmless subject. But that's what they want to do. Yeah. So you look up, for example, anything having to do with NASA, like bloopers or something. They won't show you any of those things. You have to know the link. You have to know the channel.
Because it's a search. Yeah, it's a search algorithm.
Right.
It's instead of an actual search query.
Yeah.
Jeff, I refreshed the page and it was back to 40%. So it might have just been a little.
You might have just glitched out. Yeah, you might have glitched out. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And like I said, it's just like everything else in this world. Like viruses are actually good things. Cookies are actually good things. But people are using them the wrong way, and now they turn into viruses. They're supposed to help your computer, not hurt your computer. Cookies are supposed to help your browsing experience, not hurt your browsing experience. Algorithms should be helping your searching experience, not hurting it, not blocking you. That's why I'm saying this BS with what Trump did. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed yet. Where's your change there, Mr. Executive Order? You ain't changed jack squat. People still getting struck.
It's not going to happen.
Instantly change.
Let me tell you something. The code
like when
that's doing it.
And you take you take medicine. It takes a little time for the medicine build up in your system to do what it needs to do.
It's not going to instantly change because they're going to try to fight it in courts.
They're going to try to fight it, exactly. And that's exactly what I said. Because let me tell you something. It could be flip of a switch because the code that's pissing Trump off can easily, at a flip of a switch, be disabled. They don't need to act. They don't need to do more code to do less filtering. It doesn't work that way.
What's interesting the other way around. What's interesting to me is that you have Zuckerberg, his reaction to the Trump announcement was to criticize Jack Dorsey over at Twitter and make it sound like Twitter is ruining it for everybody. They're kind of turning on each other a little bit.
They're going to find loopholes. None of this mattered. And if Trump really wanted to do anything about it, he would have used legislation that made everybody not responsible. End of story. But just because you're saying you're going to lose your protection, let me tell you something. YouTube and Twit and all, they're not public forums by definition.
Not
they're
anymore.
not public. They're
That's where you're
commercial
getting
forums.
No, this is where you're getting it wrong, LDG. They are using a loophole now that they can get by with this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Not
agree. And
supposed to be.
yes,
They're acting like publishers, not platforms. That's the problem.
yeah,
Originally, they were given protection as platforms, but now they're overstepping that and they're acting like publishers by selectively deleting and shadow banning
Yes.
and the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's what he's trying to rein in. He's like, look, you guys grew to enormous heights because you were a platform
that's
that allowed
wrong.
everybody.
and that's
What's
wrong,
wrong?
because
What's wrong?
that's wrong because I don't want to see YouTube closed up tomorrow. I don't want to see Twitter closed up tomorrow. Yeah, I don't like what they're doing.
They're not going to close up. They're just going
You
to have
don't
to
know
change
what they're going to
it.
do. They're going no. They're either going to close up or they're going to
They're not going
pull
to.
it.
They're not
They're
just
gonna
going to
loophole it.
close. They're not just going to close.
Money. They'll
They're not-
continue to make the money, so they're not going to close up. They're just going to have to open it up and make it fair for everybody.
They're
They're
not
gonna-
going to do that. They're not
they're-
going to do that. They're not going to do that. Mark
Of
my
course
words,
they're-
guys.
If you don't
They're
sit
not.
there
They
and make
can't.
them
They
do it,
can't. They can't. They
No.
can't. I'm sorry.
The thing. Okay.
gonna
Well,
happen.
look. Businesses do find loopholes during the early days of prohibition. When it became illegal to sell beer in a bar, what they would do is they would sell you a free pitcher of beer if you bought a bowl of peanuts.
Uh-huh.
That's the kind of loopholes you're talking about here. So
Yeah.
they're gonna try certain things, but
Or you went to the doctor and got a prescription for whiskey.
yeah, for whiskey and things like that. I mean, that's what business does. They adapt to restrictions by government, but so YouTube is not going to go away. Okay, there's too much money being made right now, and if anything, they are going to change their behavior. We don't know to what degree. It might be very small behavior. They might have but it is going to be the catalyst for some changes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he sold it like it was going to change everything. Like no one's going to get copy struck anymore, and then you have the freedom of speech of a public forum.
I don't
and all this
remember
stuff.
that, but I
how
yeah.
he was selling it.
didn't
That's
hear
exactly how he was doing.
I didn't hear any of that LDG.
Look it up online. Look at the titles.
I have looked it up
No,
online.
I've looked at it, I've heard it, I've read it, I've seen it. That's not what he was saying.
No, look.
He said
he's-
people getting their it's in the damn words. They said people getting their channels shut down, getting copyright struck. It's word for word in the damn thing.
You're
Look it
either
up.
misreading this or you just don't know what the hell you're reading.
I'll look
Okay?
it up again one more time right now
No,
just to
yeah.
make sure I'm
Okay.
speaking the truth.
Provide us a link and we'll take a look at
Yeah.
it.
He was talking about, okay, like the mess Steven Crowder went through a few months back. That's what he's trying to stop. Okay.
Yeah, or Sugar and Spice or whatever their
No,
names
all
were.
he's doing is trying to get he wants to win the next election. Let's get this straight right now. You want to say one thing that's
Well,
actually
show
happening?
me,
He's only doing it for that.
show me a president or a politician who doesn't want to win their next election. LDG,
No,
that's
don't-
nothing.
don't- yeah, but
nothing
that's
new.
stupid though. That doesn't mean jack squat. He's using the law. Isn't that illegal? Using the law to get the win in the next election? Isn't that against the law?
It's not a law. It's an executive order to establish something, and there's no.
Let me say something.
Okay.
And it's perfectly fair to Twitter to put their thumb on the scale for one candidate over the other. No, it should be open and fair for both.
No.
Twitter is
No,
putting their thumb on the scale to help Democrats. Plain
I'm sorry.
and simple.
If it was a public forum, I'd agree with you. They are not. They should lose their protection. Twitter can do whatever they want, and they have the freedom to do that. That's why
And
they call it
right
freedom of
now
speech.
They have the protection because of a law that Trump is trying to get rid of, so they no longer have that protection. So
Yes.
then they either have to be going back to being fair, or they
Not
can
gonna happen.
open themselves up to lawsuits when they do this sort of thing.
And I'd agree with you if what you said is true, but they're either going to do two things. They're either going to close up shop or they're going to loophole the hell out of it. Because let me tell you something. Any software, any website developer, any social media knows that 100% uncensored search results comes with its own. You have to do some kind of censoring. Like you can't just have 100% pure. Because then you'll have little kids looking at crap you don't want them looking at. You'll have the 100. They're going
What
to
do you
find
think
loopholes.
Twitter
Trust me,
now?
they're going to find loopholes.
Of
They
course
already
they
know
are.
their
That's
loopholes.
what business does. But
This is not
at least-
going to be effective. This is going to be zero
And what the
effective.
hell do you think you got on Twitter now? It's legal to post pornography on Twitter.
This porn on YouTube. What are you talking about?
yeah.
There's porn all over the place. That's what I'm saying. What I'm
Right.
saying is they should lose their protection. I'm so
Yeah.
for that.
One of the things that they do is they declare speech they don't agree with, like
Yeah.
pro-Republican
Subjective.
Party or not. They declare it hate speech so that they're then officially justified in terminating that post or that account. And there's going to have to be regulations now in place that clearly define what that is and what they did to identify it.
Yeah.
Because right now it's all honor system, or dishonor system, if you want to call it that. So I mean, this is going to be a catalyst for changes to occur in business, and business is always reacting to government, and government is always reacting to business. I mean, I don't have a problem with the way it works in this country, in general. For just as an example, right? Because of quadcopter drones that people have now, this is forcing the law to define how much airspace above your property is yours and how much is free space. For example, that's something that the law didn't have to deal with until these quadcopters came out and it forced the situation. But that's how it should work. Business should be a little bit of ahead of government in terms of how that works. But now it's catch up time.
It's funny that Trump has enough money where he could make his own public platform and just put YouTube out. Because the second somebody comes out with something better, everyone's going to flock over.
Trump's not that rich.
Just like he's rich enough. Trust me, he could pay me to do it. For God's sake.
He still needs investors if he's going to have a product like that. He can't bankroll it all himself. If you've seen his tax returns, you know how much money he made in a given year, and it's not like he's making he's not making Zuckerberg level money or
Most
even
of his wealth is
Well, you don't
wrapped
need
up
Zuckerberg.
in
he's got assets. Yeah,
assets, properties. That's not the same as having cash on hand.
yeah, right. Yeah, but
But yeah, everybody jumped ship on MySpace. Remember when MySpace was like so
I remember.
huge and that was the big thing, and
Well, yeah.
everybody jumped ship as soon as Facebook came out.
Gordon Craig still has an account on MySpace, so
that was a weird situation too, because MySpace, if it worked, it didn't always work very well, but it enabled you to create a page that had its own look and things like that. Whereas Facebook, everybody's account looks the same. You just put your own pictures on it.
Yeah,
But the thing was, Facebook
blog
worked.
post.
But Facebook worked better than MySpace did.
MySpace was too complicated for the time.
Right.
Well, and that was their fault for not having templatized, like Facebook did. That's all they had to do, and then create like an advanced button for people who actually did want to make their own page. But it wasn't just about that. MySpace's problem is they went towards music. That was MySpace's problem, and Facebook went more towards family. That's why Facebook run out. Had nothing to do with how difficult it was, because people still had it. It was very popular. They were making the most money out of nobody. And then Facebook came out of nowhere with the whole family aspect of it. And now it's not even family anymore, because now you got Facebook business. So they're like switching all around and everything.
Right.
And now you got targeting advertising on Facebook and all the stuff you didn't have before. But let me tell you something. Zuckerberg did not have buku money when he made Facebook. I don't need billions of dollars to make a Facebook. You know what I mean?
Well,
Just
he had
start off small and
investors.
you work your way up. Yeah.
He had investors, and the Winklevoss twins being one of them, actually. But the whole situation where people think that Trump is rich enough to just do things himself. I mean, he is wealthy enough to not want to give away his presidential check every year or every month when he does that. He gives away to charities. No, I don't think of any president has ever done that before. So I mean, there are some things that he does that I do kind of like, but I mean, I don't throw my hat into any in with any particular politician or party or president, because they're all imperfect lumpen human beings like me at the very least. So I wouldn't vote for me either.
The only way they're gonna do this where that law makes sense, okay, and it all depends how much he sticks to his britches, is if you release your search results 100% unfiltered and allow the users, like, switch everything around so the users filter what they want to see. So unless that actually happens, I don't think that's good. Everyone's going to lose their protection and get sued out the yin yang.
Professor Bunsen Honeydew wants a giant asteroid again.
All right, Rock Solid's in here, and I just got to bring up. I was just watching. There was a whole bunch of looting going on over there in your town, Rock Solid. Were you one of them out there? Huh? I
think I saw him steal. I think I saw him stealing a whole box of Game Boy Advances.
I think so too.
Yeah, he had a big, huge box of Metron cartridges.
I think he stole the last copy of ET.
I miss cartridges.
He found that last cartridge of ET for.
You know, I found a cartridge at a rummage sale that made me laugh. It was, and some of you will remember this, some of you won't. There was a band in the 80s, they're still around, they're called Journey. And they had an Atari game called Journey Escape, which could have been anything because on an Atari, you know, you have like blips, right? for you know, figure like little stick people and stuff like that. The idea was that you played a member of the band Journey and you had to get down the hallway and dodge the groupies.
I thought it.
Yeah, it was called Journey Escape.
I remember seeing that
their like second Monster album that came out was Escape. So I was thinking maybe it had to do with, you know, the album theme.
Yeah, they literally are trying to escape from, you know, from their auditorium to get to their hotel and get to their next show. It was like Frogger or something. You know, it was like one of these reflex games. You know, like the 80s games were. But yeah, it had the album cover on the cartridge and stuff. And it was, you know, but
had the game.
Yep. Yeah. Back when they used to make video games out of rock bands.
So there's one out there with Kiss all over it somewhere.
Somewhere, probably. Yeah.
But I didn't get that movie they made. I knew a guy I was stationed with. He was just a Kiss fanatic.
Oh man,
he loved that movie. And
Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park.
Yeah, and I mean he had all of their albums.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave a couple to me that I still haven't played. But you know, I just keep them. It's you know, part of my fascination with vinyl. You know, I keep them clean. I've just never played them.
Hey, you know, what's his name? Paul Stanley talks about that movie because he was asked in interviews, you know, what were you guys thinking when you made that movie? And he's like, look, it was presented to us like, let's make a movie that's 50% Star Wars and 50% A Hard Day's Night. Who's going to say no to that? But the problem, of course, is that, you know, the Kiss weren't actors. You know, they were very wooden. I mean, Peter Criss, the Catman, they should have just dubbed him, because he's trying to explain to the teenage characters how their magic talismans and supernatural powers work, and you've got this guy with a thick Brooklyn accent talking about magic and talismans and stuff, and it just doesn't work.
But nothing about the movie worked. I mean, there were scenes where they had to go get the magic talismans, and it would just appear. They'd pick it up and walk off. You know, like, come on.
And you know, the villain, the actual Phantom in the Park, he was in a lot of stuff. He was the evil Starfleet admiral in Star Trek Insurrection. A lot of people don't recognize, you know, but I mean, and I'm like, when I watched that Insurrection, I'm like, where have I seen this guy from? And it bothered me for days, and then I figured it out. But it was just But you have to give Gene Simmons his props. He went and took some acting lessons. Yeah.
When he did Runaway, he was the convincing bad guy.
I was very impressed with Runaway when it came out, and his last death jump scare at the end, I thought was it was pretty fun. But I mean, Runaway was it's panned now, but I didn't think it was that bad a movie at all when it came out.
No.
But that's
For the 80s, that was a good movie. For the 80s.
Our threshold for what was a decent movie back then was way different than it is now.
But it was more realistic, because they were dealing with chips and
right.
the hardware and stuff. Now it's all about software. So
you can always tell in the 80s, like from we were talking about Superman 3, and they were talking about, or even just the Terminator films. It's always about, it's the computer that controls the machine. It's the computer. Everything was about hardware, like you say. Yeah. Nobody really knew. The general audience probably didn't know the difference between hardware and software. And now, of course, the Terminator franchise, for example, adapted to that by changing Skynet to basically an AI. But back in the 80s, it was all about the hardware. It was all about, Superman has to fight a supercomputer. Well, who wrote this? And we're all asking, like, well, who wrote the software? It's like,
Richard Pryor.
Yeah. But I mean, but back then nobody cared about the software. Like whatever. It's the hardware. It's what the computer looks like. Yeah. Oh yeah, Kirstie Alley was in Runaway. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Before she got all fat. But anyway. Yeah, 80s movies. Yeah, it's funny too, because I like looking at old movies, not just 80s movies, but when you go back farther, because you're not just looking at a movie, you're looking at a window into a decade or a time and you can see the attitudes of the era through it. That's why I like the old Twilight Zone episodes too. You can really look at what people were interested in back in the late 50s and into the early 60s, and all the themes and things that they like to visit. But and I always get a kick out of how a movie that takes place in the future, you can still tell what year it was made. It's like every movie, every sci-fi movie in the 70s, everybody's wearing beige. And
they're always one-piece jumpsuits.
Yeah, one-piece jumpsuits, beige. Their hair is a certain way. They like to wear a lot of turtlenecks. And in the 80s, it was all Devo looking shit.
And everything looks like a damn shopping mall.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I never could figure out about Logan's Run.
Yeah.
And then I found out, well, hell, it was filmed here in Dallas.
Yeah.
At the Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it looked in the 70s when they filmed that movie.
Yep. Yeah. When I first saw RoboCop, of course, I believed that I was looking at Detroit. But later I found out, oh no, they filmed that in Dallas, Texas. And when I found that out, of course, now when I see the movie, it looks like Dallas, Texas to me, and I can't get Dallas, Texas out of my head.
Well, only the City Hall was, I think.
Well, yeah, the City Hall and also the boardroom where part of the movie took place. Where ED-209 shot up that guy and stuff. You could see all these Dallas buildings out there and stuff.
Oh, but yeah, that's right.
The steel plant, I believe, was also in Dallas too, but a lot of the other things were obviously sound stages. But yeah, they chose Dallas because Dallas being a somewhat newer city than Detroit, and it has a little bit more of a futuristic look to it. So if you
it did back then,
yeah, it did back then. Yeah, it had a lot of glass structures and things like that. But yeah. It was an interesting documentary I saw about that movie, because the Beretta that RoboCop uses, they had to get like congressional approval to bring it into the country. It was made by Beretta overseas, because it was essentially, even though it was going to be firing blanks, it was a fully automatic, machine gun pistol.
Oh, and really?
And it took a while for Peter Weller, because Peter Weller grew up around guns, because he's from East Texas, so he already knew a thing or two about pistols. But it took him a while to get used to the weight, because it had a really long barrel on it, and do the spinning trick. It took him a while to do that.
I just thought that was a damn mock-up. Just looking at it, it didn't look like it didn't look convincing as a real gun.
Yeah, it was a gun, but whether it's a debatable where you could call it a real gun or not, because if you put real rounds in it, the gun probably would jam. It probably wouldn't last very long. But it was designed to fire blanks, and so I mean, a gun like that, if you were firing a real bullet, would probably fly out of your hand the way it was designed.
Break your wrist.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, it was. I like the idea that it was a gun designed for RoboCop, who had a mechanical hand. So a human being tried to fire it, they wouldn't be able to do anything with it. But that was an interesting little story. He said that they had to wait an extra like 4 or 5 weeks for Congress to approve the moving of the gun into the United States for that reason, because of the gun laws back then.
Why couldn't they just made it here?
I'm not certain. I think it might have been a deal that Orion struck with Beretta. I mean, because they were also Beretta was also providing other weapons for the movie. So it's like that. Like that tactical cannon that they had in the movie that blew up a car with one shot and stuff like that. That was all designed by them too.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So they got a bulk rate.
Oh yeah, because I mean, hell, you got Smith and Wesson right there. I mean, and they got engineers. So
I've never been a fan of Beretta. When I was in the Navy, in the 90s, we switched from 45 caliber Smith and Wesson sidearms for our submarine sentries to Beretta 9mm, and I'm like, if I got
that late, I mean, they started switching over to 9mm in the late 80s when I was in the Army.
Yeah, Navy, it was lower priority, I guess. I don't know, but the thing is, well, I mean, Army uses more guns than Navy does. I'm sorry, they just do, But I'm like, if I got an impassioned terrorist running down the pier intent on getting a grenade down the hatch of the submarine, I would like a weapon that stops them. I mean, the Beretta, you can stop somebody with a Beretta, but you gotta make sure you hit them. I mean, I can hit a person with a 45 anywhere and they are going down.
Oh yeah.
So the 45 has knockdown power, whereas the Beretta, you got to hit them in key locations and things in order to stop them. So I mean, I just felt safer with the 45.
Oh, during that changeover, that was a debate between my platoon leader and one of the sergeants. About that very thing. The sergeant was saying we need to keep the 45 because it will knock you down.
Right.
Which is why the Army went to the 45 in the first place.
Right. Yeah, the round tumbles, as I understand it, and that's one of the reasons why it'll. I mean, you hit somebody in the leg, they will go down.
Yeah.
You'll knock them on their butt actually if you hit them in the chest and stuff. So I mean, it's whereas a Beretta will punch holes through somebody, but if they have enough momentum and they, they're and maybe they're on drugs or something, like Scarface, they'll be able to take a few rounds and still get to where they're going, So yeah, it was and of course, submarines aren't about guns; they're about torpedoes. But we had torpedo men on board who also were in charge of our hand weapons. We carried 45s. And we also carried Mossberg cruiser shotguns, and those were for use inside the ship. And the reason why you wanted to have a sawed-off shotgun with a pistol handle for repelling boarders on down below is because a shotgun is going to do less damage to the surrounding equipment.
Oh yeah,
and then we also had 2 M14s for when divers were in the water. When we were at sea, and maybe the diver had to go out and make a little repair or something. The M14 was there, and we had 2 of them for shark watch to make sure the sharks didn't go after the divers if we were in shark waters. So those were the hand weapons that we had on board.
Oh, okay. So you were what? A hunter? What is it called? You hunted up your submarine, other submarines.
We were an attack submarine. Yeah, we were designed to attack surface ships and other submarines. Yeah. So we don't have to go into that though. I've talked about submarines so many times on these streams that.
No, it's interesting to me because
Yeah.
You know, especially with Andy Trucker, he gets into the ship porn.
Mhm.
I see spaceships looking more like submarines for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I see them being, you know, functioning like that, even in a war situation. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Yeah.
have to drop some ordnance and run, just like a sub would. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that last video I did about the bird of prey really hit home some things for me because more so than any other ship in Star Trek, even the Defiant of Klingon bird of prey is the most like a submarine because look at the bird of prey, it doesn't have a lot of weapons on it. It's got one torpedo launcher in the front and 2 wing mounted cannons, and that's it. I mean, it actually has more weapons on it than probably a submarine does. A submarine just has 4 torpedo tubes in the front end of the ship.
I don't know. I think I can argue Enterprise NX-01.
Well, yeah,
that was a piece of crap.
but I mean, I'm talking about within the era that it is in. I mean, you look at the bird of prey from Enterprise; it's more heavily armed than the birds of prey in later Star Trek. It has a belly gun. It has both wing-mounted and head-mounted disruptor cannons on it. So it's way more armed than the later bird of prey that would debut in Star Trek 3, and that's the one I'm referring to because it's. I mean, like I say in the video, I ran into a guy who didn't like Generations because he just found it hard to believe that a bird of prey could destroy the Enterprise. And I'm like, well, the movie shows you how they did it. You know, it's like,
it got around the shield. That's how they destroy it.
Yeah. You get around the shields and all you need is 1 torpedo tube and 2 disruptors, you know, that's about it.
And all you needed to do was fire a torpedo underneath the keel, regardless of how big the ship was. You were going to break the keel, and it was going down.
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube about a war game exercise that took place a couple of years ago, where a diesel submarine made from Sweden defeated the U.S. Navy in a war game. It simulated sank the aircraft carrier, and it's a diesel submarine made by Sweden. You know, so I mean, you know, if the crew knows what they're doing and the other crew is sleeping on the job, you can do it.
Oh, so that is so much like Down Periscope, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. That's a fun movie, but
I didn't know Kelsey Grammer had that type of comedy in him.
Well, you know, he played the same character for so many years on those sitcoms that, you know, it's funny because recently I saw a movie that he made like the year after Down Periscope called the Paper Wars, and it was all about it was a black comedy about the story behind the Bradley fighting vehicle.
Oh, God, let's not talk about Mr. Bradley.
Okay, well, I won't touch on it, but basically, Kelsey Grammer played a general in the Army, and you'd think, well, okay, he's going to play it the same way he played Down Periscope. No, he played a totally different kind of character, and it was great to see him do that because he was the villain in that second movie, the Pentagon Wars. That's what it was called, the Pentagon Wars, and you know, so he has range even within comedy. And I think that's good.
Because I mean, the Bradley fighting vehicle. I don't know which was worse, that or the Sergeant York.
You know, it's funny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was air defense, and I would have if they hadn't have figured out the problems. That's what I would have ended up in, because they would have gotten rid of the radar systems I was trained on, and I would have been in one of those damn things. Thank God somebody came to their senses on it.
Yeah, I didn't know much about the Bradley fighting vehicle, but there was a guy I used to play World of Warcraft with who was a master sergeant in the Army. He was a tanker, and he recommended I watch that movie, so I found it on Amazon Prime and watched it. And I mean, that's a great example of something being designed by committee over several regimes. I mean, it was in that vehicle was in development for like over 20 years.
Yeah.
And went through like 4 different presidents and all kinds of stuff, and it wasn't good at anything when it was finished, and you know, it was just awful.
They just should have kept the old APCs they had from the Vietnam era.
Mm-hmm.
They were much better.
Yeah, It reminds me of something. You can't, and as an Army guy told me this once. He said you can't put armor on everything. And during the war on terror under Bush II, there was a story that came out by an overzealous civilian reporter who was following around, i.e., pestering a Humvee unit, where he found them. They would send guys to the local dump to look for scrap metal to attach to the hull, basically, of their Humvee to make it safer to use. And he thought that was the most disgusting thing. How come our guys don't have the finest armor on their vehicles? It's like the Humvee, generally speaking, from my understand, isn't an armored vehicle.
No, it's a truck. It's a utility vehicle.
Yeah, and I'm like, even if they had the best armor available in the world, they would still be going to that dump to look for anything they could use to improve their situation.
Yeah.
But a civilian doesn't know this. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing unusual about this. But of course he writes this story all about how it's terrible. We send our people into war with inadequate. Don't even get me started about how the submarines. There's a contractor that makes the radar mast for a submarine. Radar mast is exactly what you think it is. You raise it up, and it spins around, and it's supposed to give us information about what's out there. And you really need one when you're moving in and out of port. You don't use it so much when you're in the middle of the ocean. But the resolution on the one that's built into most submarines that were made between 1960 and 85 didn't have the resolution needed to maneuver into some of these ports where there's a lot more activity. So what you had to do was the submarine got a special budget to send a guy out to any local yacht supply store and buy a civilian Furuno radar designed for yachts. And because the Furuno radar was not designed to be on a submarine, that meant that some poor schmuck had to go up before we were ready to go into port and set it up on the bridge, which is this little 3-man space at the top of the sail. Tie it down or fasten it to the hull of the ship, and then run cable down through the hatch down to a special display down in the control room. And then when we're all done coming into port, he had to break that shit all down. And because it wasn't designed to be there, and it wasn't like it wasn't like a nice little radar mast that was retractable that you could just raise the mast, we're done with it now, lower the mast, and then you're done. It had to be stowed, it had to be all this kind of stuff. And it's one of those things where our captain said, they don't train us on how to use a Furuno radar when you're in submarine school for officers. It's something that you have to learn once you get out of the fleet. You have to become familiar with whoever is the designated Furuno man, and that's an interesting thing. It's an afterthought, but I'm pretty sure the newer submarines now have a Furuno quality radar mast. But it was just one of those things where, again, you got a government contractor who is going to make one thing for the next 30 years for all submarines to use, regardless of whether it's still useful to them or not. And that's why you had to have that. So that's why you had to have the Furuno radar.
Sounds just like the Army,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And of course, a reporter on board a submarine would that's a story. I'm going to talk about how the Navy has these these defective radar masts and they won't replace them and all this kind of shit and try to make a scandal out of it. But that's just that's just the way it is. Now,
a lot of times that's situations nobody thought of.
Right.
That's why, and once they figured that out, the problem I see, once they figured out you needed that Furuno radar, they should have just went and bought some Furunos,
Well, they did. I mean, they gave special budget to all the submarines to go out and buy one.
Oh, okay. Well,
and that's what they did. But the thing is, it wasn't designed for a submarine, and it was it was a regular old commercial piece of equipment. And so, some poor guy had to go and break it, install it, so we could go into port and then break it down. And it was so you had to designate one whole guy to do that, and he was usually a radioman, and so that's one extra job that he had to have while we were going while we were in when a submarine is moving in and out of port, the watch it's called the maneuvering watch. You have special assignments that you have to do while the ship is moving in and out of port, and then once you get they secure from the maneuvering watch, then you go on to standard operations where you go wherever you're supposed to go and stuff for normal underway deployment. But maneuvering watch, one whole guy had to be used just for that Furuno. Yeah.
Plus a guy to operate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because Trepang was built in 1965, and so on board you had technology that was original to the ship from mid 1960s. Then you had stuff from the 1970s, and that was all made out of different materials and stuff. We had a console in the control room for short range sonar for when the ship was making an ascent, meaning heading towards the surface. And it looked like a video game from the mid 70s. It had a tiny little screen, a huge console with nothing on it but the screen and a trackball. And I looked at it, I'm like, I think I saw that in a bowling alley in my hometown once, but no, it was, and the screen was about 10 inches, diagonal.
That sounds like the radar system for a Hawk battery.
Yeah, it might. I mean, they might have used the same chassis for other things, but
it was like from the Second World War.
Well, this was a little bit later, but it looked very disco, is what I'm trying to get at. It looks like it came from the mid 70s and had a trackball, a humongous trackball on it. Like the trackball was like the size of a softball. And and that's what you use to move the cursor so you could listen to various channels, and that's all it was. It was like this great big arcade game that took up way too much space in our control room, and that had to be manned only when we were making an ascent. But you had analog devices that didn't even have screens. They would print something out on paper right next to a touchscreen display that was installed maybe 4 years earlier. So you had this really weird fusion of like 4 decades worth of technology on that boat.
Yeah.
Whereas the newer submarines all had touch screens. Everything was touch screen, and we had like maybe 1 or 2 things on the screen. The ship that were touch screen, everything else was various other things. But yeah, no, the other thing that was kind of weird about it was we had back when that boat was made, there was a sound system where if you were you're laying down in your rack, your coffin shaped shelf that you slept on, there was a little console in there with knobs that had 12 channels on it, and it had a great big humongous headphone jack in there. But of course that was the remnant of a system that was taken out probably in the mid 80s, because in the mid 80s that's when the Walkman came out, and so if you wanted to listen to music on headphones, you just brought your own Walkman with you. Before that, you could get you had headphones, and you could put these great big monster headphones that covered your entire ear on, and then there were 12 channels, and each channel had a different kind of music that was on a repeating loop of about 6 hours. So if you wanted classical, you could go over here, and then if you wanted country, you could get 6 hours of that. The idea was if you wanted to just lay in your bed and listen to some music until you fell asleep, you could do that. And the yeoman in his office had the deck that controlled this system, and that was gone. Obviously, that like I say, they got rid of that once Walkmans came out. But there were all kinds of little remnants of old things that the Navy didn't use anymore, ashtrays, things like that.
Yeah, they just kept using it until they couldn't use it anymore.
Yeah. But anyway. Here we got talking about subs again. All right. Well, anyway.
I didn't start it.
I know. But
It's interesting to me. It's a different branch of service, totally different world, and so it's interesting.
well, GG dropped off. Okay, yeah, so the Klingon bird of prey. It's I like it because it's designed to do a very specific thing. You know, the Klingon bird of prey is designed around the cloaking device.
Yeah.
You know, it's designed to operate primarily while cloaked, so that's why little stealth vehicles that are designed for surprise attacks, things like that, aren't going to have a lot of weapons. You know, they're not like a battleship that's designed for sustained combat or something like that. It's a quick little thing, and
yeah. It gets underneath you, blows you up, and runs away.
Yeah. I mean, back in World War I, when they started really using submarines by the U.S. Navy, they had a bad reputation. They were not considered to be a very gallant vessel. They were considered to be sneaky, dirty, underhanded, and because back with naval combat before the submarine was fully adopted by the Navy, they had rules. I mean, you couldn't sink an enemy ship unless you took their crew prisoner, and you had to be able to take them prisoner, accommodate that prisoner crew and feed them, and keep them in relative in relatively good shape, and then you could torpedo their ship and sink their ship. Well, submarine can't do that. Submarine sinks the ship and lets the crew figure out how they're going to survive.
Yeah,
and that was considered despicable back then, and it took a long time for things to change where that was not so bad anymore.
No, but Jutland, nothing like that happened. Okay, that was like a free for all. Once the British crossed the German fleet into T, I mean that fleet was bye bye.
It was. It's naval combat dating back to the sailing ships. Now some sailing ships obviously would send Marines over to just kill the crew.
Yeah.
Or take over the ship or whatnot and change the flags. Pirates, that kind of shit. But the submarine just effectively ended that kind of naval warfare. Now you had to make ships that had twice as many escape rafts as they needed, and such. And it was because I mean, if you've seen the movie Das Boot, there is that brilliant scene that's so demonstrative of what I'm talking about, where the British sailors from the sunk ship are swimming to the U-boat, and the captain just orders everybody down below, and they submerge underneath them, and they're like, we can't take prisoners. It's like we don't have the room. We don't have enough room for our own selves. Everybody's sleeping on top of each other in the main berthing compartment. So
but the payback was the way they were harassed on the way back to port. So
yeah, exactly. The Rock Solid mentions submarines were in use during the Civil War. There was the Hunley.
The Hunley.
There was one. Yeah, the Turtle was the first submersible craft. It's not. It doesn't really qualify as a submarine, but it basically was. It was bicycle powered, and it was made out of an old. It was made out of wood, and the idea was that it would attach bombs to the hulls of enemy ships while they're in port, and it managed, I think, to install one bomb on an enemy ship before the guy inside passed out, because there was no air system. He, whatever air he had was whatever he had before he submerged. Yeah, and you can't.
A couple of years ago, find one of those subs.
They found the Hunley. They found the remains of the Hunley. Now it's badly, rusted out and stuff. Obviously, it's seawater. It's going to destroy anything that's down there eventually. But they did find the Hunley, and So that's a little piece of history. Yeah, the it's interesting too because Jules Verne's book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea had featured I think the first fantasy submarine, the Nautilus. Captain Nemo's Nautilus didn't have torpedoes. It would just ram the other ships because the Nautilus was steel and every other ship in the water at the time was wood. So, the steel wins,
Yeah.
But, so that's one of the things that kind of bugged me a little bit about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie was when they unveiled the Nautilus in that movie. It looked kind of neat, but it had way too much. I mean, the tech on board was just ridiculous. I mean, even by Jules Verne standards, they had escape pods and torpedoes, and it was just
I actually thought that was ugly. The sub they had in the Disney movie seemed more realistic. Even down to the Victorian themed interiors.
It was very ornate,
like what it would probably look like.
Mm-hmm. Well, the big thing with the Disney version was that, of course, that it had those two great big glass eyes in the front, and you can't see much in the Atlantic, at least. Once you get, if you're in the Caribbean, you're going to be able to see, 30 feet below, but 30 feet below, in the Atlantic, it's very dark, and you need to have some kind of, halogen light or whatnot mounted on your ship in order to be able to see anything. And you're not going to see anything anyway because there's nothing to see down there. So, the League of Extraordinary League, I'll just call it League. The League movies, Nautilus looked like, and Nemo introduces it as the sword of the ocean, and it kind of looks a little bit like a sword. It's got like this, nice wedge shape to it that makes it kind of look like a sword blade. But
you're right.
But it was ridiculously huge, almost like an underwater aircraft carrier. And the other thing that I thought was funny was how it was solar powered. They had to stay on the surface enough to charge the batteries, and then they could go underwater. And I'm like, well, that's a novel idea, but it's solar batteries are
a joke.
Yeah, they're not. That can't be your primary source. But I was glad he didn't say it was nuclear powered because I'm like, you're in the Victorian era, buddy.
Well, see, but that's what the first movie hinted at. Is that was a nuclear powered setup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, in the comic book, the Nautilus is a very interesting looking design because it looks like a sperm whale that has a squid attached to it on the front end, the submarine looks like a sculpture of a squid and a sperm whale fighting. And I thought that was sperm. Yeah, but what works for a comic book doesn't always work for movies. So I wasn't surprised that they changed the design. But this when it had those little escape pods, I just like, okay, what are those powered by then? It's like just didn't care for it.
And then the 6-wheeled car, I'm like,
okay.
yeah,
they got an automobile too. Yeah, so at a time when people are still riding by coach,
Yeah. They ripped off Lady Penelope's car from
the Rolls Royce from Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
It was weird too because in the comic, and I don't expect anybody here is ever going to read the comic, so I'll just tell you, all the characters were deconstructed. So, for example, Alan Quatermain, they really went into how he was addicted to opium, and he couldn't do anything. He wasn't useful at all unless he was high on opium. Mr. Hyde, of course, was a full-on sexual rape, pervert and rapist, and so was the Invisible Man. Invisible Man. When in the comic book, when they find the Invisible Man, they find him living in an all-girls school, and so that he could, voyeuristically be around all these teenage girls. And one of them, there's this phenomenon. See, what happens is Alan Quatermain and Mina Harker. Mina Harker is not even a vampire; she's just a normal, vampire fighter, basically, because of her experience with Dracula. They hear reports of a ghost that ravishes girls in this school, and they go to investigate, and that's when they find the Invisible Man in there. And the girls all think that they're being violated by the Holy Spirit. So because that's what the nuns are telling them in there, and of course they're not, and it's so he's he's not a good person, the Invisible Man, and neither of course is Mr. Hyde, and eventually Hyde ends up essentially raping the Invisible Man and killing him. And it's one of the more interesting parts of the comic, because, and if they ever made it into a movie, I'd be shocked, but it would be interesting. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen are having dinner, and Hyde is there, and so is everybody. Nemo is there, and all of a sudden, Hyde is talking about something, and all of a sudden, blood starts forming on his clothes. And Nemo's like, Hyde, are you wounded? And he goes, oh no, this blood isn't mine. It's the Invisible Man's. He must have just died, because in the movies, whenever the Invisible Man dies, he becomes visible again, right?
Yeah.
And so, not only is there blood forming on the Mr. Hyde's clothing, but there's blood forming everywhere in the room, on the walls, on the table. Because Hyde murdered him in gruesome fashion, but nobody could tell because his blood was invisible, and now that he had died in the next room, all of his blood was becoming visible, and it was one of them. It was a very arabesque, well, not really arabesque, grotesque, little bit of horror that took place over several panels, and if they ever did that in a movie, that would be that would be something. But
NC-17.
Definitely, yeah. It would be. It's not pretty, even though you can't see what's going on. So it's, yeah.
Well, guys, I hate to wrap this up, but I'm getting a little sore. I got to go relax for a while.
All right, DJ. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, been fun, dude.
Thanks for hanging out with me for a while.
Yeah. Right. Talk to you later.
Great evening, everyone. Thanks all for showing up.
Thanks for having me.